day session. Thank you very much for making the time to be here this evening, and we look forward to an engaging and an interactive session. My name is Mwangi. I'm a member of the Junior Woven Program. I've been a member since 2020, and it's an honor and a privilege to be moderating today's forum. But just before we start, perhaps I can invite Kantai to introduce herself, perhaps invite Madam Emma and Madam Catherine, who I saw join in earlier. Karibuni sana to you all. Maybe you can just start for us, Kantai, and then I'll take over to introduce our esteemed guest this evening. Thank you. But once again, everyone, prepare to talk, prepare to engage. We'd love to have an interactive session. We're all here to learn and grow and develop our personal brands. So Kantai, good evening once again. Over to you.
Thank you, Mandy. Good evening, everyone. So a very warm welcome to the Junior Membership Program. We are glad to have you, and I look forward to enlightening conversations with you this evening. I would like to invite Emma. Emma is the Junior Membership Committee lead. For the Junior Membership members who are on the WhatsApp group, they have interacted with her several times, so perhaps today is the day you get to see her, Emma. So Emma is not on call yet, but I should let you know, Mandy, once she dials in. I would like to invite our founder and chair, Madam Catherine Musakali, to say hi to you. Miss Catherine?
Hi everybody. Hi Kantai. Hi Mandy. Gosh, I'm looking at the list and I'm seeing good old names that we've been interacting with before. Thank you for joining. I hope the year has begun on a good note for you. I know it's May, but for some of you, we have not seen each other since the year began. So I hope it's going on well. And I am looking forward to this session as well. So enjoy it, ask as many questions as you can, so that you have lots and lots of information as well. So please feel free to share with each other, to challenge each other. So Kantai, I'm throwing you under the bus. I'm requesting the junior members to push you so that you can have more programs for them. With that, I just want to wish everybody a great evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Catherine. It's an honor to have you join us this evening. And we also look forward to your questions and your insights on the topic of personal branding. At this point, thank you very much. At this point, perhaps I can wish you a good evening, Madam Cynthia Mwangi. Karibu sana. Just before I read your profile, you can go ahead and greet everyone this evening. As mentioned earlier, I will insist that everyone say something small towards the end, at least so that we can get to know each other and get to know where we're at on our crafting personal branding journey. So Miss Cynthia, good evening. Perhaps you can turn on your video. Excellent. Good evening to you.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Mandy. I guess my name is Cynthia Mwangi. And I'm so glad and absolutely honored to be here. My gratitude to, of course, Madam Catherine and the entire team that has put this together. I am looking forward to a very interactive session as well. So I'm very excited about this.
All right. Thank you, Miss Mwangi. You look lovely this evening. I feel underdressed, but you do look amazing. So karibu sana. Allow me to read out your profile, and then we can go ahead and start. Today's the structure of today. We'll have a presentation from Miss Cynthia. We'll then go directly straight into a Q&A where as many people as possible, time permitting, can ask a question, request to be unmuted so that we can hear you and have an interactive and engaging session, so that once we leave here today, we all get a sense of the tools we require to start our journeys of developing our personal brand, or for those who are already well in, to continue to develop and improve on the brands we have. So without further ado, allow me to read out Miss Cynthia's wonderful profile. So Cynthia Mwangi is a trained journalist turned producer who is passionate about creating business-changing content through storytelling and targeting messaging. With more than 10 years of experience in radio and inbound marketing, she's constantly innovating new ways to produce content that is effective and useful. She's currently the head of radio at Hot 96 and executive producer, as well as the host of her own show, The Morning After. Additionally, she hosts a digital show called Behind the Mic on East Africa's largest digital platform, Citizen Digital, where she interviews media personalities. As a strategic communications professional with a career spanning over a decade, Cynthia has worked for one of East Africa's largest media houses. She has mentored and trained young and upcoming media personalities in the industry and has also worked on internal communication strategies and branding programs. In addition, she acts as the public face of her brands and is responsible for responding to media requests, crafting press releases, and managing events on behalf of her clients. Cynthia's passion for activism has led her to work with NGOs on health bills that influence the nation's outlook on young people, and she's dedicated, beg your pardon, she's dedicated to supporting the SDGs and Kenya's Vision 2030 goals of quality education, gender equality, and climate action. Cynthia is also a talented corporate MC and moderator with a reputation for working to the highest code of conduct. She has moderated sessions on digital content growth in Africa and has worked with organizations such as FilmAid and the UNDP on initiatives aimed at creating a better, fairer world by 2030. As a brand enthusiast, she believes in the importance of authentic alignment when it comes to brands. Overall, Cynthia Mwangi is a smart, bold, and professional communicator with a strong track record of producing high-quality content, managing communication strategies, and hosting events. Her passion for activism, dedication to promoting gender equality, and commitment to supporting the SDGs make her a valuable asset, and not only that, but the perfect person to discuss the topic of personal branding with us this evening. So without further ado, allow me to invite Madam Cynthia Mwangi to make her presentation, but first introduce herself and then begin when she's ready. Asante sana, Madam Mwangi, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mandy. Sometimes you hear somebody read your profile and you're wondering, is that me? That is all me? My God, what a shocker. Anyway, as you've heard, my name is Cynthia Mwangi. I hope everybody can see me. From what I see, I'm just seeing blurred. But anyway, we move regardless. Thank you so much for the invite. I know when Madam Emma sent me the invite and requested for this, I was very humbled. And again, absolutely humbled to do this. But it's one of the things that I'm very passionate about, personal branding and being able to put yourself on a platform and out there across generations and even nations. So as you've heard, my name is Cynthia Mwangi. How I started my career in media was I joined Royal Media a long time ago as an intern, worked my way up. So I was an intern for Citizen Radio, which was still is a Swahili radio station. Now, initially, when I was joining as an intern, I was very clear about where it is that I wanted to go. I knew I wanted to join Hot 96, and I knew exactly how I was going to do that. You know, walk in, HR asks me, so where do you want to go? I'm like, Hot 96, obviously. I mean, you hear my language. I mean, it was obvious. So after a couple of conversations, I ended up being handed over to the head of production, and I ended up at Radio Citizen, behind the scenes, not even at the forefront, nowhere near the microphones, behind the scenes. And I did not understand what had happened. But for me, I was just glad that I was there. So I literally worked my way up from producing Radio Citizen, helping set up about 4 stations at the same time, When I was producing Radio Citizen, I was still editing like preachings and productions for Mlembe, Sulwe, Vuka. All those are Luya radio stations. No, I don't understand the language. I'm Kikuyu. However, I ended up learning a few words. We helped set up stations like Radio Ma, which is purely a Maasai radio station as well. And from the interviews to doing the voice tests and all that, I helped set up that. And I think in retrospect, I am glad I didn't go straight to Hot 96, because then I wouldn't have had the experience that I had then. So 9 years down the line, there was an opportunity for me to be a head of Radio Hot 96. I applied, I got the position. And the next big thing was we were trying to rebrand the station at the same time. So that's when we started looking for Jeff, we started looking for Jalango. When we finally found them and we put them together, I was told I'm going to be their producer. So for the next 3 years, well, actually two and a half, that's what I was doing. I was the head of the station and at the same time producing Jeff and Jalango, which became one of the probably biggest radio shows across, other than what is now Mina and Kingangi, but that was the other biggest show that we did. So that's how I grew my career. In between there, I went to school, and because I got to start working a bit earlier than most, I didn't exactly enjoy what people would call the luxury of campus, because the minute I left college, I was attached for 6 months. And in those 6 months, I never got back to go to school. I never went back to school. And well, it could have been, it was a good thing. I never got the opportunity to go back to school. I was given a contract. I was told, here, we like your work ethic, and we would like to keep you. So I was given a contract. That means I was studying a bit further from Nairobi. So I had to relocate and switch schools, and I started again. So I joined Kenya Methodist. That's where I did my bachelor's in communication and public relations. And that is pretty much how I started my career in radio. It has been a great journey, I have to tell you that. But the lessons for me have always been putting myself and pushing myself harder and harder every day. It was not easy, and it never was, and I don't think it ever will be. But the more I pushed myself, the more I saw the benefits of what I was doing. And for those who are in campus or for those who are working right now, you'll know an organization goes through so many interns. Every 3 months, there's an intern coming in, every 3 months. It's a vicious cycle. So you can imagine, out of the many that came through, me being picked as one that gets to remain, and on top of that, get a job, that means there was something that I was doing right. And that is what probably stood out so much for my career. I don't know, Mandy, have I said everything I need to say?
I think so, Madam Cynthia, I think you're good. I just wanted to confirm, did you have a presentation that you wanted to project, or we can go straight in our...
So I think what I'll do is I'll go through the presentation. You'll help me project it, yes?
No problem.
Let me see, I'm assuming this is where we are. This should be it. Oh, great.
Excellent. I confirm we can see quite clearly the presentation. Thank you for your intro. It's quite elaborate. And I think that element of grit is actually part of your brand, most likely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Okay, so what I'm going to do, because I've been told I'm probably going to be the first person to do a presentation. This is the simplest form of presentation I've ever made, because I know, one, it is on a Friday evening, and two, consuming information, especially about branding and you, would require a lot more time and probably several classes to go through. So I've just done the highlights and the very important key things that will help you build a brand, okay? But if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask once I am done, but I'll go through it. It's very easy, and I think after this, I'll share it with Mandy as well, or I can share a couple of, or I can fill it up with a few more details, and maybe add a few details and some meat, and then I can share it with you. So this is the visual brand, and you're asked, what is a personal brand? And this is the simplest way to explain what a personal brand is. It's you showcasing your skills, your passion, your personality, which is so unique to you, that represents you to the world. And there is nothing that will ever take that away from you. And a lot of people will ask, but I am not a brand, I'm just a person. Well, yeah, a person is a brand. It does not matter what happens. The reason why one person is more memorable than the other is because you as a brand or as a business, people remember the things that you do. They remember how you make them feel. And those are the things that people tap into. That is what makes you a very distinct brand. And the reason why we're talking about personal branding is it should cut across your entire life. And a lot of us are very good on social media. And the question is, does the brand that you project as a person also project across your social media platforms? So that would be the question. Now, why is personal branding very important? One, more than anything else, it helps you stand out. Like my example I gave, I stood out of the many interns that came out. I was the one person that they picked because my work ethic, my grit, I pushed, I stood out, I asked questions. I was in people's faces consistently, and I knew what it is that I wanted to do. The other thing is you establish your unique identity and reputation. The one reputation I did was I was one of the youngest producers on that station. For most people, when I was joining Radio Citizen, I had no idea that radio station existed, and I was forgiven for that. But it is a very mature radio station. So I am joining in the earliest of 20s, and I have never heard of it because I was busy listening to Hot 96. I was listening to all stations except this one because it speaks in Swahili. It doesn't talk to me. However, the minute I plugged in, I found one show that was very young, and I hooked onto it. I made sure that from the music to the way it sounds to the artists, all of that was so youth oriented that it was all linked back to me. And that's how they kept wondering, why does this show sound different from the others? Well, it's because I was on it. The others were never the same. So the minute they started recognizing and seeing that, then they started asking questions. Now, the other thing is you're able to increase your visibility and opportunities for success. So despite me being there for a couple of years, the one that was very consistent was the minute an opportunity to manage a radio station came up, I was the first person they thought about. And so they didn't question anything. It was like, who would be the best person to run this young station? Obviously, Cynthia Mwangi. So for me, the way I branded myself, at that point, I'll not lie to you, I didn't even know I was doing it, but I found myself consistently tweaking the way people thought about me. And I'm sure that they associated me with young, vibrant, fun. That's how they picked me out of the crowd to make sure that I am running the youngest and most vibrant radio station. Now, oh wait, I had done that, right? Okay. There we go. Now, how do you build a personal brand? Building a personal brand is not easy. Nobody ever said it was, because one, you need to know yourself. You need to find out, who am I? What are my values? What do I stand for? What makes me unique? And for me, one, my diction was probably the most outstanding thing. Two, I was very aggressive, consistently in people's faces, consistently. Three, it took me probably 2 months to know and understand how to edit, to package, and to send things to an entire radio station. Now, let me explain how big Radio Citizen is. Radio Citizen is #1 in Kenya. It's the most listened to radio station in Kenya. It is that big. And you imagine that if you're that big and you're just an intern, 2 months old, and someone is trusting you to actually be able to run programs on it, that for me was probably the most humbling thing I've ever heard. It was incredible. So I just went with it. And those things are the things that make me stand out. Now, if you can figure out what your thing is, that's what you go with. It could be the fact that your passion is playing the piano. You're a good footballer. You play golf perfectly. Go for it. If that's the thing that you're really good at, it doesn't matter. Just push yourself and go for it. So those things that even you can feel that are standing out, it's a thing that you always feel gravitating towards. That is your thing. And the thing about humans is we have a gut feeling, and your gut feeling is never wrong. You can tell when where you are and what you're doing gives you so much joy, that emanates from the inside. That's how you know you're doing the right thing. Now, examples of people who have done some really wonderful things and have come out to be well-crafted brands. A person like Jeff Koinange, a person like Oprah Winfrey, Lewis Hamilton, Elon Musk, because he is currently doing Twitter, but we don't even know him for Twitter. We know him for tech and pushing the brand. We know Michelle Obama because she's doing things that are a bit different. Now, the thing I picked Jeff Koinange on this presentation is because of all the anchors we've ever had, Jeff Koinange's way of asking questions and the person that he projects is very clear. You're looking for someone who sings country music, Jeff Koinange is top of mind. You're looking for someone who has incredible interviewing skills, Jeff Koinange comes to mind. The other people are like Yvonne Okwara as well, come top of mind. Hussein Mohammed as well, top of mind, because they've crafted themselves and they've realized where their niche is. If my niche is in interviews, that's where I'm going. If my niche, and forgive me for using examples from Royal Media Services, but it's because it's where I'm very vast in that. Someone like Hussein Hassan Mugambi, very good with investigative pieces. He walks in and he says, this is what I'm good at. I'm very good at this. I want to pursue this. So he's given the dockets, like, go you forth, explore that, see what you can do. Another person who is doing this is a lady called Jarita Ndai. Jarita Ndai is a great head of radio, who is now the current head of radio at Radio Citizen, but she's also a really good trainer. So she spends her time managing a radio station, but also training other people on how to be great orators, great writers, and so on and so forth. So the examples are so many of people who rebrand and brand themselves consistently. And the thing about brands is, the minute you realize who you are, then it requires for you to be consistent and to be very authentic about who you are. You don't say, I'll fake it till you make it, because that never works for anybody. It's like you're setting yourself up to fail. Don't ever fake it. Be your real self. Be your most authentic. And a lot of people have examples of people who've been authentic. The one person who's been so authentic to their story, Jalango. He knew where he came from. He was a guy who was selling fish in Kisumu. And he never forgets that. And he'll remind you consistently, that is who I was. And I'm never going to change from the fact that that's where my space is. But I know where I'm going. And where I'm going, I could be the next president of this country. But through every step of his way, he's tweaked and changed his brand, but he has remained the most authentic and honest person throughout his career, both doing in radio and now that he's in parliament. He has been very authentic and very real about what it is that he's doing. And he's trying very much at the same time to connect with where he's from. So those things remain his biggest strength. Is he good at talking? He is fantastic. He is a great orator. He's really good with jokes. And that is what has enabled him to remain consistent throughout. He's not changing. It's like, no, maybe I'm a good writer, or maybe I should go and become an athlete, or maybe I should become a headmaster, or maybe I should become, I don't know, a safari rally driver. He has figured out what it is that he's really good at, and he's used it consistently to build his career. And those things are what will drive you to your next level. And finally, what are the tips that someone can use to create their brand? Well, one, figure out what your values are. What is it that you stand for? Whatever it is that you stand for is what now you shall build on. Two, choose a consistent visual style for your brand. And that could vary, okay? I know a lot of people who are getting in are very good with Facebook, with Twitter, with LinkedIn. Pick one thing that works for you. And a style could be quite a variety, right? You could be the fun person. You could be the serious person. You could be the person who gives tips and advice and challenges. You could be, honestly, there's so much that someone can be. All you have to do is consistently show it. Now, one person who's also been very consistent to show who he is a guy called Greg Snow. Greg Snow is a golfer. He represents Kenya both locally and internationally. And from a very young age, he always golfed throughout his life. If you look through his pages, one thing you will find, golfing. And it speaks volume because he will show you, this is where I am, this is what I am doing. Today I'm in Durban, tomorrow I'm in Amsterdam, I'm in Antwerp, I am doing all these things. This is what I have worn. And all his profiles speak the same thing. I do golf. That's it. And the minute someone figures out what it is that you're good at, then you start building on it. Again, it takes time, but the minute you figure it out, then you're able to get your footing in your space of branding. Now, the one thing that is very important is don't ever assume that you don't need a brand. It doesn't matter what age you are, you do need to build your brand, especially now when things are happening so fast and in the era of social media. And I'll give an example of, I don't know how her name has escaped me. Mendy, remind me the lady who moved to the US.
Uh-huh.
She was very big on TikTok. I can see her face. I
Aziad.
don't know where it's... No, not as yet.
Definitely not.
Before Aziad. No, before Aziad. There was one, I don't know.
Anyone can post in the chat. Kenyan moved to the US and now is huge.
She was very, very big in Kenya. Her content was consumed in South Africa, and at some point,
Elsa Majimbo.
Elsa Majimbo. There you go, Elsa Majimbo. So her thing was doing the crisps and doing a joke, right? Very rhetorical, and she did that so consistently every single day until the day she became a big deal. To this day, it doesn't matter what else is happening around her. She has remained true to that one thing, the one thing that got her to where she is right now. Currently, she's in Hollywood and she's living her life, enjoying the perks of remaining consistent. Are we saying that things will happen overnight? Maybe not. We have some, snowflakes, those ones, some unicorns where once in a while, things skyrocket. People like Aziad and Elsa, sometimes things happen so fast, and others, it takes a bit longer. But the most important thing is that you remain consistent to you and to the person that you are trying to build. And the thing is, you will not figure that out in one go. You will not sit and say, this is the one. No, it takes time, because then you have to figure yourself out. It's like, is this what I really want to do? Is this how I want to do it? How do I go about it? And it requires a lot of consulting as well, because as you grow, you notice certain things about your values change. Maybe you were an introvert, and then suddenly you discover maybe you're not. You like talking. You're a great speaker. You're a great orator. Then that has to change. But the one thing that is so true is that you have to remain authentic and consistent to yourself every step of the way. And I guess with that, I am done with my presentation. And thank you very much. If you have any questions, please do bring them on.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Cynthia. We did have one of our members say that you were breaking a little. I hope that they were able to get the larger part. On my end, it was audible, but perhaps for the majority it was also audible. Maybe Miss Nancy may rejoin and check the connection on her end. But Miss Nancy, I also suspect that sometimes when, the video is being shared at the same time, in addition to another presentation, it clogs up the
space. Yeah.
I suspect. So now that maybe we don't have a projection on the screen, I think it should be fine. Let's wait and see. But thank you so much, Ms. Mwangi. I've taken quite a bit and quite a lot of terms that I will want to revisit. The element of rebranding is quite an interesting topic that I'd like to touch on maybe when we discuss the stages of self-branding. But one thing I was surprised you didn't mention about one of the elements of your brand is your voice. Perhaps you didn't say it verbatim, but I thought once we had, because a video of yours has been posted on the Junior Warbon group, some of the which you've mentioned women in the public sector, serving in the public in that space. And I voice immediately, I was like, oh, this sounds so familiar. This is such a unique element of your brand. And I'm sure many have interacted with your voice and perhaps not been able to put a face to it until today.
True. That's true.
Excellent. So at this point, we're about 27 in the forum. And now, as earlier promised, we are dedicating as much time as possible to an interactive and an engaging session. So members, please feel free to post your questions, comments, concern. If there's an area you'd like to be clarified, if there's a comment or compliment you'd like to give, please feel free to post it in the chat. But not just that, given that we aren't quite a big number, we'd love to hear directly from you all. So if you'd like to unmute, feel free to go ahead and do so. And we'd love to hear your comment or your question. Perhaps, Ms. Mwangi, I can start. And I'd like to just better understand the stages of the self-branding journey, if we can call it that. Today, I'm sure we have members who are from our senior member Warbon group, but also within the junior membership, our ages range, I think, all the way from our late teens into our mid-20s and our late 20s. So perhaps I gather that to have a self-brand, you have to understand self. You have to know your identity and, as you mentioned, your values, your interests, your passions. So maybe you can take us through that earlier stage when you started to develop your brand. How did you establish a unique identity? How did you sit yourself down to ask, who am I? What do I stand for? Because we understand the process is not overnight. And then again, in these early stages, I think young people are quite eclectic. Today, we are interested and passionate about this. The next day, I am a believer in this. So perhaps, how do we marry all these aspects of ourselves in the early stages when we're still discovering ourselves, and then come up with something of a coherent brand?
Okay, that's a really good question. Now, when I was trying to come up with my brand, and again, because this came out a little later in my life, like in my early 20s, there was a lady that I adored very much, one Oprah Winfrey. And I made it my business to figure out how exactly she got to where she is. And then another person who has helped me with my brand is, her name is Marie Folio. So one thing I learned when I was developing my brand is that there is something called a multi-potentialite. So multi-potentialites don't have one thing. They probably don't even have two things. They have multiple things that they're passionate about. And some of the challenges we had when we were growing up was, we're always told, lazima tuwe kitu moja. Wewe lazima ujue kitu moja peke yake. But then you realize you are passionate. Like, I'm passionate about climate change and sustainability. I love that I am on radio, but that does not mean that I cannot be on TV as well. So I am doing my campaigns on sustainability. I am on radio and I am on digital TV. That works. So the idea that if you're a young person, you need to find out one thing, not necessarily. Explore. The one thing that you have as a young person is time and energy. Explore it to the point where you're like, maybe it's not this. But then you see, you're not just exploring one thing, you're exploring multiple things. See what works for you. See what makes you happy. See what strikes joy and resonates with you. The one thing I've learned about Gen Zs is it's not like our time. Our time, it was soma, uende shule, usome, upate kazi. That's it. Now it's, you will get a job, but someone will walk away because like, this job does not speak to me. This job does not satisfy my inner peace. It doesn't give me peace. It's not, the environment does not even feel like a place I want to be in. And because of those things, now for me, we usually tell people, explore. You have nothing to lose, absolutely nothing. What you do have though is time to learn. You have time to learn who you are, what you're good at, what you can do. And the world is your Esther is not a joke. It literally is. You can pick up anything that you want to try out and try it. The worst that will happen is that you will learn. You will not fail. I don't ever believe in failing. I believe in learning. We say you live and you learn. So whatever it is that you want to do, learn, pick it up and learn. You think you can be a good writer? Go ahead. I've written a couple of articles. And even before I became a head of radio, when I was back in being a producer, I was a blogger. That is one thing I always keep. I was a fashion blogger. And to this day, it doesn't mean that I'm not passionate about fashion. I am truly 100%. I project that differently. From my Instagram, you can always see posts about fashion and you will see it go around. People will always tell you, oh, if there's anyone who knows how to walk in heels, it's that babe. If there's someone who understands the color and how to put them together, it's Cynthia. Because I haven't removed it from myself. I just figured this is a great thing, but I'm not doing that right now. What I am passionate about currently, and I feel is drawing me stronger, is public speaking and being in media and being able to control the narrative. So you see, for me, the bigger call was media versus fashion. So it's very possible for you to have multiple things. But as you grow, you end up dropping things as you go along the way. And that is okay. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Mandy, have I answered your question?
Absolutely. Actually, I was, once you said that, you mentioned the element of a social media platform, I was tempted to ask whether in trying to craft a brand, then would young people today have, their social media presence well identified and in line with what other people know them for. And then another thing that we sometimes call a Finsta, your account on the side where it's purely for honestly, your other interests, your other passions that maybe you aren't quite ready to reveal to the world or to have associated with your brand. So do you have a Finsta, Miss Cynthia?
I actually don't.
Oh, okay.
I truly don't. Here's the thing, because for me, I believe in authenticity. So
Yeah.
on my, especially on Instagram, because I'm very active on Instagram and Twitter, you will find my most sarcastic comments. You will find me with my funny memes. You will find the wholesome me, because then it beats the purpose of talking about a brand. You need to know me as a whole. So if you meet me in person, you're like, oh, I saw your meme. And I was like, yeah, I know, it was funny. But then if I only project a very serious side of me, people will never know this other side. There are people who see me and they don't know that I speak a lot of Kikuyu and Kiswahili. But anyone who meets me in person, they're like, let me tell you, your jokes in Kikuyu are to die for. And I'm like, okay, if you're lucky, you will find them. But mostly I literally project everything on my socials. But I'm very categorical. There's things that belong in our WhatsApp group, and then there's things that are okay on Instagram. Those things that belong to our WhatsApp group just remain in our WhatsApp group where you sit, you laugh, you send to your friends, it's funny, and then that's where it ends. Not everything has to be online as well.
All right, perfect. And I think that'll go well into our topic on authenticity. But you did mention something that it is who you are, all these aspects of yourself. Faking it is very unsustainable. And one day, if you're caught off guard, this one brand that you really highlighted and put on a pedestal will, be challenged should you be caught in that moment where you're not quite on your toes. So it's best to just,
Exactly.
the best of your ability, be yourself, be your authentic self, which is really what I wanted to ask. How can we make our brands more authentic and true to who we are? Even as Kantai was introducing the topic of self-branding, she noted that typically we associate brands with material products. She even gave us examples like, the car brands, even how Toyota has Toyota and then has Lexus, how all these different brands that we know of, are they luxury brands, and then what we associate them with. But how can we kind of rethink branding at the individual level, especially in the early stages of our careers or internships? How can we bring it closer to our realities and then make it authentic so that it's not only sustainable, but achievable? Is it something, it's not something we switch on from 8 to 5, but it's something that truly feeds into who we are, who we think we are at this time. So how does that element of authenticity come in? Because as I mentioned earlier, there was that topic of rebranding. And when I was in high school, there was, or rather just out of high school into campus, and we'd all kind of gone into separate institutions. So people come back, right, after 3 to 4 months, and you've quote unquote rebranded. And it didn't have a positive connotation as I remember it. So how can we kind of rebrand to make sure? And what used to happen when we were young is now someone would say, that's so off-brand. That's not what we have known you to be and known you to say. So how can we bring in this element of authenticity throughout the journey of self-branding? Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I'll ask a question. Which brand you relate with as a person, like an actual person as a brand? Anyone?
That question, yeah.
If you can just put it in the comment section. Let me know who some of the people that you consider brands. That then I can see from which space we're talking to.
Maybe I'm trying to see a name that I recognize. Anyone who'd like to unmute, please feel free. A brand that you associate with. A local brand, a global brand.
Yes, any of those.
Brand. Anyone? Michelle. I say Michelle because I see we have multiple. Michelle, Ayeko, Michelle, Nina. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. I would say Joanna Kinesia.
Oh, nice.
Joanna Kinesia, yes. Another one?
From me.
Okay, what do you like about Joanna?
I feel like she's very real with how she expresses herself. She's just a charismatic influencer. You might not even have a big reason to like her, but the way she expresses herself is very authentic. I find it authentic.
She feels like she's your friend, like it's your girl next door. It's like
real.
someone you're like,
Feels real.
Imagine Banner story. That's how it feels, right?
Yeah.
And even when she's doing, I know before she did her makeup line, she always walked the journey. At the very beginning,
Yes.
She started with makeup for normal people. It was like cosmetics, super cosmetics, go buy this, come try it out, see how it looks. I don't know how to do my eyebrows. This is how to do them. And she walked that journey with the people who started with her because she was authentic. She loved her beauty. And that was a thing she stuck with. She may have done other things, but she didn't allow us in that space because for her, it's very clear it's beauty. So because she's stuck on beauty, then she put her most authentic. She said, today, me, I have a pimple here. Tomorrow, me, I don't understand why this eyebrow is not eyebrowing. But you see, there are other people who will just show you so much perfection that it is too perfect to be real. It feels unattainable, right? Because then you can't start comparing yourself with the Kardashians. I mean, plenty work going in, too much work. and they're not true and honest about half of the work, right? But someone like Joanna, you'll walk in and like, sis, trouble with people, help. It's like, even me, I had one of those. Let me show you what to do. Authentic brands are real. They have conversation. They're very real people. It's people who will show you, today, to be honest, I really have a challenge with doing makeup. So I'll just do the basics for now. And then after I'm done, I will go. Someone who does fashion, they'll tell you, today I'm feeling meh. Like, I can't explain how I'm feeling today. So even in my dressing, that's what I'm going to do. So they'll tell you, walk me, get ready with me. They'll pick their clothes, a couple of things here and there, and they'll put it together. They'll ask you, does this even work? Like, do you think it works? It's great. Great. It's those things that feel as real as a person, like you're having a conversation with a person, like the way we're doing it now. I'll say, oh, Nancy has said something. Oh, Medi has said something. Oh, Nasirian has said something. Those conversations are more authentic than anything else you'll ever feel. Authenticity sounds like a very huge word. The real term is just be real. Be yourself, be real. That is it. If you're an aggressive person, always go for it. It's like, ask, okay, nimemaliza assignment ya leo. What else do you want me to do? I'm ready. Just, give it to me. If you have a challenge with, say, I'll give an example of people who come in looking for internships, and they'll be sent to on air, which is on radio, physically in radio. And they'll be like, I want to learn how to do this, but I have a better strength, and my strength is in production. So allow me. Can I go and show you what I can do? You'd be like, oh, okay, that works. So off you go. And that doesn't mean that people look down on you or they think you're not taking up the challenge. They are impressed that you actually understand what you're good at. But that doesn't also stop you from learning what's happening on the other end. It's just you're picking your best and your strongest element about yourself, what makes you stand out. That's what you're showing the world. You'll be like, this is what I have created. It's a fantastic thing. If you're a good cook, if you cannot cook ugali, but you're really good at making omelets, why would you set yourself up? The thing is, if you're really good at omelets, say, I know how to make omelets, but I'm still learning how to do ugali. So don't put me up there just yet. Once I learn, we'll have that chat. Yeah? Yes, Mandy?
No, perfect. In the chat, we've received someone who said they associate a brand with Akode. Miss Nancy says, however, she might not be her type of fan, but that's a brand that at least is very noticeable and one that she associates with. Anyone else who'd like to tell us? Before we go into the questions that have come in, thanks for posting them in the chat. Anyone else who'd like to tell us a brand that they associate with?
Even Akothe, again, out of every brand that ever existed in this world, for the longest time, Akothe has remained honest. Now, that is a person who has showed us all facets of her life, and she's not ashamed of it. She's embraced it. And a lot of people have, they're not very comfortable with the way she does her things because they feel like she's over the top. But currently, she's the brand ambassador of Homa Bay. I mean, again, so authentic about herself. She says, listen, I have this many children. This is who I am. I am not lying to you. I'm not taking photos in a restaurant and pretending they're my home. No, I am not saying I live this kind of lifestyle and then this is what is happening on the ground. No, she'll tell you, this is where I am. Me, I was sick. I was depressed. I lost a child. There's so many things that are happening in her life, but she's allowed us into her space. Am I saying we all need to do that? No. That is not necessary. It is not. I mean, there are people like Caroline Mutoka, we don't know a lot about her, save for what she will allow us to see. And it needs for you to be able to know, am I okay sharing this part of my life? Am I okay sharing this? Am I okay if my brand is represented with certain things? And that is how you grow, okay? And sometimes you'll stumble and you'll fall, but you'll learn. As I said, there's never a failure, it's just learning.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for that. We had two questions come in. One is from Sharice. Sharice Kimani, I hope I didn't butcher your first name, but thanks for your question. Sharice asks, how do you deal with negativity while being yourself? How do you deal within this brand that's now authentic to you and you find pushback? How do you deal with that in the real world?
In the real world, we're all humans. And the funny thing about this is out of 5, 10, 20 comments of people going, we like you, we like how you sound, you're good, like you look amazing, you sound fantastic. There's gonna be that one person who go, why is your forehead so big? What is wrong with you? Why do you not sound like a Kenyan? Why are you pretending with your fake accent? Well, you see, that happens all the time. And because we're humans, we somehow want to focus on this one thing that someone has decided, this is the one. And you zero in on it, and you're like, Akimbona nafikiria na fake. Why couldn't he, how do people take me? I look like I can't talk like this every day. No, but this is who I am. This is how I. The thing is to learn how to choose positivity all day. And I know it sounds cliche, my God, it does. But positive vibes and inshallah is a thing. Okay. You have to choose. And I say positivity is an inside job because how you feel on the inside will always project. So if you're happy on the inside and you're consistently feeding yourself with positive things and talking positively to yourself and feeding positive things about you and the work you're doing and the projects that you're doing and the kind of person you want to be, those few negative things will not affect you. I'm not saying that they will not come. They will. Oh my God, in plenty. And then the more you're working hard and the more you seem to be growing, there'll always be people who are coming in to make sure that you realize that, you know, you're nothing. No. Learn to feed yourself. Learn to affirm yourself. And affirmations are so important. I wish you knew. They're so important. And complimenting yourself consistently and encouraging yourself. Those things will always beat 2 negative comments any day. Because up here is what matters. You feed yourself with positive things, negative things will never have a space. But if you keep taking all these things, all the negative things that are being thrown at you, that is how you end up in trouble and dimming your own light and suddenly just shutting down. Now, how I deal with it is I just don't bother. You turn it into a positive. You're like, listen, if you're not talking about me, clearly I'm not doing anything good. I'm not working hard enough. I'm not pushing hard enough. I'm not making people uncomfortable. So if I'm making people uncomfortable, that means you're working. That means you're doing something good. Also, it has to be good. Let's get serious. It has to be something good and positive. So if the negative things are coming, just trying to put you down and based on, I don't know, your looks, the kind of things you're projecting that are good, however people feel as though they are not, then keep going. Okay. For me, it's finding that silver lining. And for me, every single time someone throws a negative comment for me, I'd be like, I must have really triggered something, you know? Do you want a hug? Are you okay? Are you dealing with this fine? Do you need somebody to talk to? You know, you have to find it in yourself. You have to figure out a smart way of dealing with those negative things. And it comes all the time, but it works. It truly works. But again, it has to be you figuring out what is my way of dealing with negative thoughts and negative things that are being thrown at me.
All right, great. It usually is them who have the challenge. Anyone who writes those comments, you know, to bring yourself to write a whole comment or to send a video or a voice note. I always do wonder what's not happening in
They're always projecting. That's the thing. They're always projecting their insecurities on you. And it has nothing to do. And most of the time you'll find it's because you are doing so well and they are seeing a part of themselves in you and they hate that they're not able to do those things. But you see, everybody's capable of doing anything. But if they feel like, kwani wewe peke yako ndio unaweza ongea kwa radio, kwani angepata mtu mwingine, like, sis, deep down, you want to join me on this radio, and it's okay. Imagine, just come. I'll write a pass for you. Come, let us enjoy it together. Yeah. So that's what happens. You just understand that people's insecurities make them want to hate somebody. And that is usually the mindset. That's why I said, once you understand that, you understand everything else.
No, very true. Very true. A sad truth, but one that gives you peace once you finally accept it so that you can just move forward.
Yes.
Cynthia asked a question earlier, and she asked, given that your unique position as a public guru of sorts, a public voice guru, she says, how do you develop then a loyal, die-hard fan base? Your brand, Cynthia Mwangi's loyal, die-hard fan base. How did they come about? Yeah.
That goes back to what we said, consistency and authenticity. So let me see. A while back, Mina wasn't Mina. Mina was still on radio. Mina and Kigagi were on radio for the longest time. But then we had Caroline Muchoko. Everybody was crazy about Caroline Muchoko. I mean, who was Mina? Nobody knew who Mina was. Nobody cared. But that doesn't mean he wasn't on. That time when Mina was still on, he was building his fan base. He wasn't popular, he wasn't famous, he wasn't anything. Not that people weren't listening to him, they still were. But he was building his brand. He was building his royalty. He was breeding that entire army of people who wake up every morning just to listen to him. So when people sit and say, oh, you need to be as big as Mina, they don't remember Mina was nobody. There was Carol, right? Before Carol, there was somebody else. And it's consistently like that. Before you, there is somebody. Then there's going to be you. And then there's going to be somebody after you. And those three will always work in tandem. Consistently. There's someone who was there before you. There's you. There's someone who's going to come after you. And they all move in the same progression. You can always tell someone who is coming in and has probably almost as close potential as you do, right? Consistently. You remember back in the day, we had the late Kasavuli. She was the queen of TV. But then she was replaced. There was somebody else who came. There was Julie Gishuru. After that, there's Yvonne Okwara. But you see, I'll tell you, like someone like Yvonne Okwara, there was someone, so in this case, let's say Julie was the one before Yvonne, right? And if she was the one before Yvonne, where was Yvonne? Yvonne was a presenter at Hot 96. Yvonne was a producer at Nation. She was presenting at Nation FM. She then moved and started producing TV, and then was put on TV, the Nation, then moved to KTN. It doesn't mean that you wake up one morning and then boom, wacko. No, it's a journey, and you have to trust the process as much as it feels like it's too long and a lot of work, but you have to put in the work. That's the problem, okay? Your 20s are for putting in the work. Don't let nobody lie to you. You have to put in the work. There are a couple of unicorns, and we call them unicorns because they're rare. The Asiads. But you see, because of how fast she rose, she needs to work 5, 6, 7 times harder than everybody else. 1, to prove she actually deserves to be there. And 2, to keep her brand consistent. And 3, to grow her brand. So as much as you're projected to the future, you could be projected 5 years ahead of where you're supposed to be. And it's okay if you're projected, that's fantastic. But then you have to work for those 5 years that you were projected ahead. You have to work for those 5 years. You have to make sure that everything you do is aligned with your brand. And it is hard work. I will not lie to you. It is hard. There are days you're like, not a must. We are not doing this. But you have to keep going. Okay. And also it's okay to rest. If you wake up one morning, you're like, today we're not branding. Today is not the day to brand. It's okay. You can chill. Again, it's never that serious. It's life. It's for the living, and you have to enjoy it while you're at it.
All right, great. That element of intentionality does really come out, that your brand doesn't come up by accident. There is a
But no,
lot. You mentioned all these personalities. I'm like, yeah, that is definitely a very clear brand associated with this, known to going this way. And that element also where you mentioned someone like Minor being, he was known and he was public. But that when now the opportunity comes up and there's an opening, you could think of, oh, who would be the best person to, who fits this new role best? And the first name that comes to mind is a person who developed a brand and a fan base, and a loyal one at that. Maybe we can, we have more associations coming in the chat. We have someone who says they don't quite know whether the word associate is correct. Miss Nkatha, right? I'm not sure if I understand associate, but Ajuma Nasiana. Pardon?
Yeah, I'm trying to read. That's Ajuma. Who's it? Ajuma is
I
that
think
Azia?
Ajuma is a supermodel. Is it, or is this Aziat?
Is it Aziat? We thank God for Google.
I will also, Ajuma is
no, hello.
Kenyan fashion designer. Seen her?
Yes, she's a Kenyan fashion designer.
Oh no, she's fantastic. She is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Why do you like her? And what do you mean by associate? Nkatha?
I like her. Well, she stands out. She stands out. She has a very interesting background, and
Yes.
that didn't stop her
From becoming who she is.
Yeah, from becoming who she is. Now she's making a difference in many people's lives in her community. Right. Yeah. So I guess, yeah, she's just powerful, man.
No, absolutely, she is.
Yeah.
That I agree with you. And I remember when I think a lot of people have problems with when people like Ajuma and Lupita decide to relocate and start working from different countries. They're like, you abandoned your people. Why did you leave? But you see, if your goal and your calling is much bigger than a country, then you can't stay there. Someone like Lupita's calling is bigger. Someone like Ajuma, as you said, hers is to come back and help her people. She went to the best of the best of the best. She has been on runways that some of us can only imagine. I mean, you're in the New York fashion runway and people are looking at you. You're in the Paris fashion runways and people can't even imagine that that is you. But then you're there to put out that name. And then when you come home, you're coming home to build, not just to say, mini celeb, mliniona kwa runway. I was doing great. It was fun. Yeah, I took selfies. I was there with Beyonce and Kanye. It was wonderful. No, how big a call is she did all this work so she can come back home and make it better for everybody. And I think that is fantastic. That's why I said, for you to realize who you are, your calling has to be so strong. And people like Ajuma's calling is huge. It's very personal. It is so deep that it has nothing to do with a country. It's bigger than a country and bigger than a continent. That's why she would prefer. She's out there, but she's bringing people back here and saying, this is how my people are. How do we help them? How do we make them better? And I think Ajuma is a fantastic person to associate with as a brand. That's a really good job. Nice job, Nkatha.
So thanks.
Yes, she.
Oh, I didn't hear that, Nkatha. Sorry, could you repeat?
I'm saying she's tough. Oh gosh, she's really tough. But thank you.
It's called tough love. Every once in a while, you gotta have that as well, because people tend to imagine that you're supposed to be kind and nice and yeah. But at some point, you have to have some tough love, and it cuts across everybody. I mean, even your mom is your mom, but at some point, she's the mom who is beating you up. It doesn't mean she doesn't love you. Still your mother, but so tough love, even from people who are creating brands, it's still fine, because it means then that there's certain things that you are very strict about, and there's certain values that you have that will not allow you to, interfere with her space. And I think Akota is probably one of the strongest. She'll call you out and is not ashamed to call you out. She's like, listen, there's a job that I am trying to do. You will not disturb me, Mwangi. Imagine you will not. Yeah. So there are people who are like that. And then there are people who are just quiet to mind their business, just do their job and then go.
Yeah, that's true. Akode is a force. And does fully understand herself and then her brand and what she's trying to do. Thanks, Nkatha.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyone else would like to maybe ask a question directly to Cynthia? We'd love to have an interactive and engaging session.
Yeah, absolutely. Always ready to answer questions.
Yeah, we have a few people who've joined seemingly 2-2. I can see.
I don't know who was raising their hand. I remember seeing somebody raising their hand, but the life of me, I
it
can't
was
see them.
Celine. Celine, good evening. I don't know if you still want to make a quick comment. I think Miss Celine Alobo had raised her hand. Hopefully it wasn't by accident. And now we're putting you shining the light. Maybe we have a few people who've joined together, Chioma and Anaya.
Sorry, that should have been by accident. Sorry about that.
No problem. Thanks, Celine. Anyone who'd like to maybe gain clarification, insights further, because the self-branding journey is quite unique to who we are and where we're at. If you have a very specific question, feel free to unmute. We'd love to engage. There was one of us who'd asked a question about Beyonce, and I think they managed to delete it. I saw it.
It just disappeared.
It just disappeared. But if you'd like to repost it,
disappeared.
And it was a joke, a dark joke, guys. Yeah. So
very dark.
Slide. Yeah.
And Nkatha, I've seen you've asked another question. You can go ahead and ask it.
Yeah. How do you figure out your target audience and like market? How do you get to know?
Okay. So that again is a journey. Let me tell you the thing about personal branding. You don't wake up one morning and then figure out like, this is it. This is what we're doing. No. It's something that you try out. It's like at the beginning I said, you have to dip your feet in like a couple of, ponds and pools and see, does this work? Does this work? Does this work? And even with content, it's the same thing. Whatever it is that you're putting out there, you'll always see what age brackets are working with me. So there are two ways to do this. One, you can decide from the onset that I am only speaking to teens because I want to help them progress in their career. You can decide I am only speaking to women because I am a woman and therefore women empowerment, and I want to empower them and project energy and send love. That is one way. Now, if you do that, that means from the onset, you've already decided this is what I am doing. So off you go. All the content, even when you get zero interaction, because that's where you start dying out, even with zero interaction, if you have said that this is what I am doing, come rain, come sunshine, you are talking to teens. Come rain, come sunshine, it doesn't matter. You can put out 500 videos that have zero interaction or have 2 people commenting. But if you have decided that this is what we are doing, then that's it. You stick to it. That's why I said consistency. And the worst, most wicked thing about this life is that consistency is the hardest thing to do in this life. Consistency, discipline go hand in hand. It's the same thing. If you are not disciplined enough to remain consistent with posting 2 days a week to talk about women, 2 days a week to talk about young people, then it's not going to help. If that's what you want to do, then you stick to it. Come rain, come sunshine, hapo ndo unakwama. But you see, at the beginning, you have to have decided for yourself, what are you good at? So if you're good with young people, then that's your thing. If you're good with children, then your content is supposed to project children. If you're good with hair, again, In the case of Joanne Kinothi Hasbro's makeup, it didn't matter whether she got 10 likes or she got 5 or she got nothing. Hers, beauty, and she stuck with it. That's it. I will not lie to you. So once you have decided that that's your age bracket, unakwama nayo na unaenda nayo. Now, the other way to do it is try out different types of content, then see which one resonates most with people. Okay? Then after you've seen what resonates with people, then that's what you pick. But then you see, that could be you're either exploring or you're showing different facets of yourself. Then whichever one people pick is what you go with. Okay? So let me give an example of Awinja. There's Awinja, and then there's Jackie. Jackie is prim. That babe is fine. She is runway model body, fashionista. Like, she's gorgeous, right? She's proper. And then there's Awinja. Awinja is just that Luya babe. Yeah? Babe from Huisero, just chilling. He's doing those shower things. But you see, she tested both, and Awinja won. And so off she went with Awinja. And that was the easiest thing she ever did. That doesn't mean that Jackie doesn't check in. Jackie checks in. When she's been called for the launch of Oh Sister or the launch of different things, she'll ask, which version of me do you want? Do you want Jackie or do you want Awinja? Pick one, right? So whichever it is that resonates, that's what you go with. So you see, she's not being forced to pick something. She has allowed herself to be in two spaces at the same time, and she's fine with it. And there's absolutely no problem with any of that. So again, you can go either show all the potential you have, then once one picks, that's what you go with, or you can just pick one and go ahead with it.
All right, that was a great question, Katha. Thank you so much. Maybe we have 2 additional questions. I think Katha was also laughing at the response. They're quite accurate. The two versions of Awinja that you can get. For those who don't know, we're talking about Awinja from Papa Shirandula, right?
But see, the good thing is, I think most people know Awinja because of Naivas. I think she's done plenty of ads with Naivas.
True. That's
yes,
true.
And the flying broom thing, for some reason, don't understand how she does that, but well. I think someone has asked, have you ever, how do you find, okay, we've done the target market. Liana is asking, have you ever struggled with confidence and how did you deal with it? Okay, great. Okay, so I was never this person, you see. I had braces when I was starting out my internship. So you imagine you're young, you're, fine babes in your 20s, in braces. And braces then were a thing that nobody had ever. So, it was a nightmare. And I was battling self-confidence challenges for a very, very long time, right? For a couple of reasons. One, most gorgeous women don't have foreheads, yeah? Thanks. So there you are. You have just hair that God knows what. You have, braces. You have a forehead, and you're like, guy, I'm in Nairobi. And you're seeing gorgeous girls, confident, projecting and walking around in heels and looking great. And it took me such a long time to get to where I am. And it's a journey. And the reason why I say it's a journey, because every day I woke up, I would talk to myself in the mirror and was like, my name is Cynthia Mwangi. I am confident. I am great. I have what it takes. And you have to go back and figure out why you're having challenges with your confidence. What is this thing that is chipping into your confidence? Is it something that someone said? Is it some remark? And most of the time, because we're women, it's a remark that someone made about the way you look, about the way you appear, about the way you sound. That is what you focus on. And I say that at the very beginning, like a one tiny comment that just slices you. At that point, I did not know that my strength is my articulation. So when I walked into studio, get everybody, I'd talk. I mean, you can hear everybody's talking. And the minute I started talking, I'd be like, oh, hello, you sound good. And I was like, oh yeah, I do? Oh, okay, wow, didn't know. Thank you very, very much. That was what I started focusing on. I'd sit and I would talk and I would talk, and people were like, oh my God, you sound so good. You should be on radio. Oh my God, you sound so great. You should be on TV. I was on TV. I was the voice of Citizen TV for a very long time. Most of the ads that were running on Citizen TV had my voice. For the 9 years that I was on Radio Citizen, my voice was consistently on Citizen TV every single day. Their adverts, everything you can think of had my voice. And because of that, that's what I focused on. I focused on that strength of, it's my voice. Y'all ain't ready. You are not ready. I pumped, I worked every single day. I'd try my very best to make my voice as good as possible. Until someone one day said, I don't think you sound good. You sound like a chipmunk. And then just confidence, everything just came shattering down. I was like, oh my good Lord, why would anyone say that? But you see, I stopped listening to that 10, 20, 30, half of a nation that was listening to my voice. And I just picked this one person who said, you sound like a chipmunk. I was like, why? When I don't sound good, is there something wrong with me? No. You have to find the one thing. And confidence is such a builder. You have to build on it every single day. It is work. It is hard work. I will not lie to you. It is hard work. And confidence requires you can quote me on this, fake it. You can fake your confidence the same way you fake confidence when you walk into an interview room. Because you walk in and sit and say, hi, my name is. And you pose and you answer those questions. And once you get out, you're like, where, guys? That thing was tough. It was so hard. I can't even. You were faking your confidence. But you see, nobody knew. You can fake it to a point. It is you. It is who you are. Okay? Don't overdo it though. Don't cross over to the other side. But project it. And that is where you talking to yourself and you giving your affirmations come in. If you affirm yourself every morning, every day, every night, you're walking, you're saying, I'm confident, I'm good at what I do. I love people. I love hanging out with people. I love the questions that people ask because I sound good. I look good. All these things, you keep telling yourself and you keep doing these things, you'll be surprised just how effective it is for you. These things require work, but it's such an inside job that nobody else can do for you. You need to grow it yourself. Kila siku amko najiambia ni mimi. Hakuna mtu mwingine anayefanya kama hii. Hakuna. Mwenda tezi na marejeo ni mimi. Sababu hakuna mwingine anaweza sound kama mimi. Mkimtafuta mtampa. Ni mimi peke yangu. And that drives you to a level that is unreal. Okay? So confidence every single day. Are there days that I will walk into a room and have zero confidence? Yes. But you know what? I walk. Will you walk into a room and stumble? Yes, but I walk. Now, I'm noticing there are a lot of women on this timeline, but let me say this. One of the things that I love about me is that I'm really good at walking in heels. So there are two things that I always have with me: my red lipstick and my heels, consistently. Because I walk in those heels and nobody will ever question me. I will pose and look at you with my red lipstick and there's nothing. You will tell me, because those are the things that I have chosen to always pick me up every time I feel, I'll grab a pair of heels, I'll wear them, and you could try and tell me the president is coming. I'll turn around and tell him, I was here before he was. Can you allow me to get in? So you have to pick a thing, whatever thing it is that helps you boost your confidence, that's what you go for. And then suddenly there were 20 questions.
Right? All the questions coming in our last 30 minutes, which is okay. I think we have a really good question. Maybe you can tackle the one from the one that just came after that from Edna. How easy is it to build a personal brand in the public sector setup? Because from what Edna says, it's easy to do it in the private sector. But maybe do you have insights to share how do we go about developing a brand in the public sector, especially as women, young women, for that matter?
If there's one thing that I have learned from Miss Emma, is that first, sticking together is such a fantastic thing. All of you have to work in tandem. You have to hold each other's hand. All of you have to be in the same level of thinking and to be able to help each other up, okay? So what I know about public sector, and the one person who I think worked very closely with me, and I was able to see some of the things that she was doing for people, was our ED. She's called Patience Nyange. So Patience Nyange used to work in the office of Governor Waiguru at that point. And the way she would talk about her was incredible. She's like, Cynthia, I have seen people who are courageous, but I have never seen anyone as courageous as her. I have seen people who are defying what is happening on the ground now, but I have never seen anybody do it the way she does. So the thing about public sector is I know there are a couple of rules, and mostly very unwritten, so many unwritten rules. But if you play your cards right, if you find that one person in your sector who is able to prop you, it becomes easier. And the one thing that most people don't realize, there are two things you will need. One, you need a sponsor. Let me explain before you jump. A sponsor is someone who understands your potential. A sponsor for me, by the time I was joining radio, was a lady called Simaloida Jom. She was a person who was mentioning my name in rooms that I did not even sit in. That means you have to show your value proposition. So by the time Simaloy is walking into a room and saying, I think Cynthia can do this, it's because she's putting her name on the line for you. So your value proposition has to be so good that she can't deny it. That means whatever it is that she is trying to do in her career, I am in it. If I am seeing, if say, who do I give an example in public? Give me an example of someone who's in the public office right now, or in the public sector.
Maybe our Chief Justice, Martha Koome.
Martha Koome, there you go. So if someone like Martha Koome is the person, if you're an advocate and that's the kind of the line of work you want to get into, you want to find out, what does she do? What are her other passions besides being a judge? Is she passionate about women? Then it becomes your business to be in her business. You're writing to her, you're emailing her ideas and concepts of things that while she is running her organization or whatever it is that she's very passionate about, she remembers, oh yeah, by the way, there's a lady who has sent me a message about something. Yeah. Then she'll go through and she'll be like, Ebu, call me, get her here. What do you think I need to do? How do we move this project to the next level? It requires a lot of work. Unlike private sector, as guys just wing it and walk into offices like, whatever. But public sector is a bit different. If you can get somebody who can hold your hand, someone who is within that sector, it becomes very easy. But at the same time, out here, make it look like you are, due to lack of better words, excuse my French, the shit. You are so good at public officing that people cannot argue with you. Your LinkedIn profile is so amazing that people look for you, that every single day you're sharing something. And one thing, again, I learned from Emma, she's consistently updating things on her LinkedIn every single day. That means she's in people's faces all the time. So you might not be doing something physically in the office or the sector that you're in, but out here, people believe that you're a mover and you're a shaker. And from there, people can tap into, even people within your office. They'll be like, oh, hiya, you remember I saw Nani had written something. See, I think we can talk to her about it. What do you think? Yeah. So it doesn't have to be as pushy as it would be seen in the private sector, but in public, the socials are your friends. The socials where like-minded people are in. for we in the private sector, Instagram, Facebook, that's all thing. Yeah. If you're trying to get into a more professional space, now you jump into LinkedIn. That's where you're projecting all the things that you want to be. And people can see it. Don't ever assume that people don't. People see it. People take screenshots. People say, mark that. Put a bookmark. I think this is a person who's doing well. I think this is something that we can do. I think this is a person I can always talk to. So those things work. Again, usually it's work in progress, but it has to be very systematic and very well stepped. That I will tell you, I have learned about public sector. Very well stepped.
Excellent. And I thought that was a very interesting. You mentioned part of your brand can be a person who supports women. I know our chair is very big on. I know when you think of who is a woman who supports women get on boards. I mean, that's how Wobon came about. Our chair believed in that and wanted to be associated with that, made it her business. We do, as you said, have questions coming in, but also compliments. Thanking you for insights you're offering, and confirmation that the forehead is not only beautiful, but I dare say our brand in East Africa.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joel, as well.
We have a great question from Tana and Wendo. I think two of our members are together as they join the forum, and they ask, how do you manage a female brand in a sexist society? Often female brands are not taken as seriously as male brands, or rather women have to work so much harder to be seen at par with men. Cynthia.
Okay, so the truth is, okay, so I was having a conversation about internships on Twitter, I think on Tuesday, on Tuesday, right? We're having conversations about why your CV was rejected. And I gave a very powerful feedback, right? And then people came at me, they're like, hey, Cynthia, that was so strong. Why would you say something like that? And I said, because someone needed to say the truth. We live, and then for me, my authentic life and the way I am branding myself now is being honest, brutally so. So the brutal honesty is, we live in a very patriarchal society. Whether we like it or we don't, we'll always be perceived like a weaker brand and a weaker sex. And that's okay. And that's why you need to work 10 times harder. And I'm not going to lie to you, that's going to be easy. It's not. It'll be hard. It will be so, so hard. I mean, I'll give an example of the Governor Waiguru. By the time a lot of things were being thrown at her, the easiest and quickest thing was, you're not even married. You don't even have a husband. Like, you're even, and then the scandals and things started coming up. But you can't try that kind of conversation with a man because, they're immune. And that means absolutely nothing to them. So what you do is make sure that you are quite literally scandal proof, unquestionable, 100%, because it is so easy to bring down a woman. I will not lie to you. It is so easy. You will post a picture of her back that is semi-nude, and suddenly she was walking around naked. And the entire world is like, we agree. She truly was. But it is tough. It is so, so tough. And someone said Ajuma can be tough. Or you do not know the half of it. You require such intricate balance between being kind, because we are naturally very nurturing people, because it's who we are as women. But also you have to be very firm, right? So my station has 2 women, myself included 3. The rest are men. My breakfast show is 2 men. My mid-morning, my second mid-morning show is a man. My drive show is 2 men. My deputy is a man. My entire team that reads news are men. So basically, the question will be, Cynthia, how do you handle the men? Well, I don't mess around. I am very clear about what it is that I am saying. There are days when we will smile, and we're smiling, and we're happy. But if it's work, it is work. If it means I will write you an email and tell you I will follow it up, you had better, right? Because you have to put your foot down from the beginning. Because the minute they see a leeway and you have a tendency of like, yeah, maybe, yeah, we'll give some room. No, you do not have that luxury as a man. You truly never have that luxury. What you do have, though, is the ability to switch between being a normal person and a firm person, a fun person and a very formal person. So you have to draw that line from the onset. If you do not, it will get blurred and it will not be good for you. So if you're able to demarcate it and say, listen, I understand. Okay, I am not what it takes. I don't look like what it takes, but it is what you have to deal with. So deal with it. So even you have to project it. You have to live it. Now, there's one thing I'll tell you, because I am young, unmarried, without children. It seems to be a very huge problem with a lot of people. You walk into boardrooms and people will not look at you. And I used to try out this thing. So I used to walk in, see how people behave. So they'll look at you and gauge how you're dressed, what jewelry you have on, and then go, akanika toto, next. Only for them to be brought back to, this is the person you should be talking to. So what I did is get me one of this. So one of this means is that I'll walk into a room and they'll see it and they'll assume, oh, she's married. So, maybe. They'll never ask. So how's your husband? No, they don't ask. But they see this for some reason. It's a very psychological thing. So I realized all I have to do is just play this dumb game with you men. Fine, I'm wearing a ring. Does that make you happy? Suddenly you respect, because I have one of these things. Kasonge. So I got me one of these things, and now the feedback is different. And I played that game for a couple of times until someone asked me, why do you wear a ring? You're not even married. I was like, well, because work cannot be done, and I need work to be done. It's not about me stamping my authority as a nun wearing ring. No, it's because I need work to be done, and I need it to be done swiftly. So the minute I walk into a room, I'm very clear. You'll see me just playing around with it for a minute. They're like, hey, wait, okay, Sawa, Madam is talking. There you go. It's very easy. Again, it's a very psychological thing. And I don't think most men realize they're doing that, but that's how you play this game.
Cynthia, that's amazing. I had noted the ring, and now when you give this other perspective, yeah, it's mind-blowing, as I'm seeing in the chat. So thank you for sharing that. And these are the realities and the realities of our time. In fact, I was similar to that. I was wondering how you navigated your brand in spite of the traditional roles that some people might say had or a thing of the past. But I don't know if you know the characters on social media these days that are getting, oddly enough, a platform to really spew a lot of like strong, hateful even senses of what women's identity and roles should be. Very firm, and then dismissing the ones who go against that. So I'm glad you got to respond to that aspect of how being a woman and in the realities of our day-to-day in public sector and in private sector. And thank you so much to I think it was Tana and Wendo for asking that question. The last one I can see, and I want to tag it on also with the last question I had, but if anyone still has any comment, question, want to be unmuted, we still have a few more minutes and would love to hear from you before we get the final remarks from Cynthia and Kantai and team and close. Cynthia did mention it's a Friday night, so we won't go beyond the time we had earlier mentioned. So I think it was Nkatha who had asked, was there ever a time when you lost your voice? And I'd like to tag on my last question to that. In this element of, given that change is constant, is there room to monitor and review the brand that you have right now in this element where you choose to, for example, you realize, oh, I'm known for this, but I really want to pivot into this. Let's say Cynthia wakes up and wants to do Inoro radio. Is that a possibility? Have you ever experienced that in your career journey? How do you pivot, and then how do you bring your brand along with that to maintain its authenticity, but also to have people believe and move with you into this new aspect of your brand, which if there's room to have it constantly be reviewed and monitored and changed. So those are the last few comments I can see. And unless we get any more, I think that's all from my end.
Okay, so I'll say the one thing that has been constant for humans is that we change. The person that you were yesterday is not the person that you are today. The person that you are today is not the person that you will be tomorrow. So we're all susceptible to change. So you cannot pin yourself down and say, but I always said I want to be a fashion blogger. And so now I'm in fashion. Now I can't post anything else about the climate. No. You transition because life is constantly changing. People are constantly moving. If there's one thing that is very clear, is the fact that humans change. So don't box yourself and say inakuwa ngumu, ni shida mimi kubadilika. Isiwe hoja. Badilika kama unataka. Unajua, I used to be a producer. I was behind the scenes. I was comfortable behind the scenes. Very comfortable. I was in heaven, let me tell you. There is nothing as wonderful as being behind the scenes. That means, you know, those accounts where you can post whatever you want and not care. That was me. Until Hot 96 happened. Until Jalas and Jeff happened. And suddenly I was protected to the limelight and I didn't have an option. That means you're changing. That means I changed from posting about fashion a lot to posting about content. Did I like it? I loved it. I enjoyed it. I mean, I still love curating conversations and handling conversations behind the scenes and helping people understand what's happening in the country from behind the scenes. Being able to control narratives from behind the scenes is beautiful, but also being able to articulate the same things on the platform that I have now is even better. So that means I'm hitting two birds with one stone. I'm enjoying the conversations I'm curating behind the scenes, but even more, I am loving that I can still project the same to where I am right now. So it doesn't matter. It's just the more you elevate yourself and the more life changes around you. And most of the time when you're changing for the better, then your brand has to grow with you. The things that, what is he called? Blessed Nyugush and the wife, whatever they were posting 10 years ago, it's not what they're posting now. Yeah. So what he used to post then, they were funny, but now he's included some form of activism on it. He will ridicule pretty much anyone in his memes. He will laugh at, he will make a joke at anything that he feels is important for people to know. Because why? Because his brand has changed over time. Okay. Does that mean that he stops doing what he was doing? No. It just means, sorry. It just means, the cold, my God. It just means that he's added something else on top of what he has been doing. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Bless you.
So Njugush has found a way to marry his activism with his humor. And that's fantastic. So you don't have to give up anything for anybody. You don't have to change anything. You just grow and add on to your career and add on to your brand. You're just filling up your brand with things. Now, if you feel like it is not necessary for us to remember who you were 10 years ago, you can clean that out. Yeah, people can only go so far on your profile. I mean, on IG, you can literally clear out everything and decide you're just posting about birds. And that's cool. And it's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. As long as it feeds to the bigger picture. That's the most important thing. Let it feed to the bigger picture. If your bigger picture is human interest stories and telling stories about people and children and love, and just take it. Take it and run with it. That's it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Cynthia. I don't know if you've seen the last question that came in, but also the one about whether there was ever a time you felt like you lost your voice. Just that. And then finally, one from Choma and Anaya, who are also together. Chioma and Ananya Musau, who ask, what tools can you use to increase your audience and market yourself better? Thanks for this question. These are the last ones I can see. Thank you.
Okay, so let's start with what tools I use. So Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, they all have inbuilt apps that analyze your interactions with people. So they'll always even tell you your highest peaks for conversations, your best performing content, and that's what you use to create even more content. So even when you're marketing yourself, you already know which platforms work best for you, where your audience is. So today I had a conversation with a couple of guys. They're called Mkisi and Mkisi, and they have 3.1 million interactions on Facebook. I could not even believe that. It was like, he showed me that page. I was like, bro, how are you not even monitoring? Like, what? This is insane, you know? But on Instagram and Twitter, yeah, negligible, right? It's neither here nor there. So once you figure out which platforms work for you, then you leverage on that. And the good thing is, as time progresses, especially with them building in AI, then you're able to get better and more refined information. Now, can I remember the name of that app? There's an app that once you pay for it, it analyzes your social medias, the entirety of it. It's like a content aggregation platform. It analyzes all your social media apps and it shows you your best peaks, your best performing content, the kind of conversations that you need to have, and it'll even help you schedule some of that. So it's very easy to get some of these things. I'll probably tell Mendy so she can post it in the group, that she can share the name of that. I think there are a couple of them that you can pay for that help you with marketing. And of course, that requires for you to pay. I mean, and the easiest would be Facebook. Facebook will be so specific that it will tell you, oh, exactly, it's a, thank you, Hootsuite, thank you, Nkata, that's the one. So what happens with something as easy as Facebook, it allows you to be so specific about the audience that you want to talk to. It will ask, who do you want to post this to? People in Nairobi, which version of Nairobi, which section of Nairobi? What is their age bracket? What is their income? What is their everything? Do they have children? Do they not? What those things? It is so specific. It narrows down to the content and to the very core person that you're talking to. So some of these things are already there. You just have to explore more. But again, with things like Hootsuite, and of course, people like Nkata who know these things, they will guide you. It is so, so easy. And there's a host of this kind of platforms that allow you to do this kind of thing. Some not free. Majority will never do it for free because again, they're helping you probably aggregate and make more money. So that means they will charge just a small fee, but it will be very beneficial if that's the kind of system that you want to go with. Now, have I ever lost my voice? No. I don't think there was ever a time that I lost my voice. What I do know, though, is how I sound now is not how I sounded 5 years ago or a year ago. The more I use my voice, the more it grows, the more it changes. And that's the thing, it's like a tool. But your voice is, like for me, my voice is my best tool, it's my biggest and best asset. So over time, it has grown, it has changed, it has developed. It's going to be deeper. It's got a more like a tenor baritone of sorts, right? So the Cynthia that I was 9 years ago or 10 years ago when I was doing TV ads is not the Cynthia that is here now. And that is good progress. But have I ever completely lost my voice? Oh, no. Have I had a cold that allows me not to speak? Yes. The cold that will just not allow you to prosper. This one has given me grace, I thank God.
All right. That's amazing. Cynthia, might you be able to check whether maybe a question came directly to you? You know how you can direct a question only to one of the co-hosts, perhaps there was a specific one that wasn't for everyone. It happens sometimes.
Curicio.
None. I
don't think so.
No problem.
Yeah.
Well,
Then if there was one, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
In that case, then allow me to thank you very much for taking us.
Although I have seen one, and thank you. Thank you. Say quick recovery and thank you. Yes, at least I have seen that one. Let me
Oh,
see.
that's
Let me just
kind.
go through and see whether there's one that came directly. Oh yeah, there was one. How can someone try create a brand for themselves in the shadow of others? God, okay. I wish you could explain a bit more. I'm not sure what you mean by the in the shadow of others. If you can explain that, I'll be very happy to answer that. Alternatively, feel free to just hit me up separately as well.
I can see someone has tried to unmute. I don't know if they'd want to explain.
Wait,
further.
that question is very interesting. Could you please repeat that question?
It was, how do you build a brand? How can someone create a brand for themselves in the shadow of others?
Okay. Unless it's behind the scenes, is that what they mean? Maybe.
Yeah,
like
that's what I'm thinking. Is like behind the scenes,
or
when
like
it's behind the scenes.
in a way
so different.
helping.
Like
out.
it's not linked to you.
Yeah, but it's
Okay.
service.
It is possible. It is actually very, very possible. I think on Twitter you've seen that. What is the hashtag that trends every Saturday?
Masculinity Saturday.
There you go. So for a very long time, nobody knew who that guy was for a very long time. So he created an entire movement before people had figured out who he was. Until now, it was too late and people figured out who he was. But is it possible? Yes. If you're very closeted and you don't like the limelight, but you have a lot to say, it is possible to use, I guess, a pseudonym to create authentic conversations that you don't want to link to you. But at the end of the day, either way, it will come out. And maybe it's easier if it just comes out from the beginning rather than waiting until 10 years. Oh, you know? So yeah. I think it is possible. It's very, very possible. People have done that before. It's like running a business. People don't necessarily have to know who you are, but they interact with your business every day. And you have people who run multi-billion-dollar businesses and they don't know who you are. Like let's say for women who buy shoes, Backyard, we have no idea who the owner of Backyard is. If we do, I'm happy for them. I have no idea who they are, but I buy their shoes all the time. So maybe until one day they're like, me. Like, oh. But then even the association will not be there. We'll be like, why don't you do your backyard? So it is possible for you to do that.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Cynthia,
Absolutely.
for getting that question that we could have missed out on, but now learned something quite valuable from that. My takeaways are, first and foremost, that self-branding is important. It's something we think we can't avoid, especially in the early stages of our careers, as we're about to finish school and move into the professional spaces. Self-branding is not something we can put off even, and should prioritize it as early as possible. It's also important to push yourself every single day. Our efforts don't go in vain, they add up, and oftentimes someone is watching in the background quietly, and hopefully that comes up much later when everyone knows you as the person who has grit, the person who is reliable, the person who is trustworthy. Those are positive elements that we can have associated with our brand. I also took out that authenticity is the name of the game. Our brand is unique to who we are. Even twins, for example, will not have the same brand. It's quite unique to how you've been created. And so work towards understanding who you are, and then working towards a brand that is authentic to that, so that you can be sustainable in how you present yourself always. And then finally, throughout today's presentation, you've noted different personalities. So it's good to know who you'd like to perhaps emulate, find a brand that you admire and would want to then understand the background to how it came about. You mentioned Oprah, and I think we all were in awe of her in the early days, irrespective of aspects that people would typically think are handicaps, she used to her advantage and is now a household name. We know her brand, Oprah Winfrey. In fact, we know her as one name, right? Oprah.
Yep.
And then finally, I really love the fact that you said positivity is an inside job. We do the work every day. Our brand should ideally be one that's positive, but one that we own and understand, regardless of what people say, unless it's constructive criticism that they're offering. It's always good to understand yourself, accept yourself, and work towards choosing positivity every day, affirming who you believe you are, and then ensuring that your brand is associated with that. Those are my takeaways. But perhaps without throwing her under the bus and ambushing her, maybe I can invite Nkatha and Kirote just to give a quick vote of thanks on behalf of the Junior Women on Board Networks team. Nkatha, good evening again. Over to you.
Good evening. When I saw the poster about self-branding, I was first of all, I wasn't really sure what to expect. Yeah, it feels like I'm in a transition where I once was doing something completely different. Now I'm taking on a different route, and yeah, it can get cloudy in your mind sometimes. So yeah, I'm grateful for this chance, and also I'm grateful to be able to be with you guys within this self-branding session. It's amazing how much you can learn, and yeah, thank you so much, Cynthia. Thank you. I've learned so much again. Yeah, I'm so
You're
glad.
welcome. You're very welcome.
Yeah, so that when you said evolving, that's the first thing that came to my mind. And I realized, yeah, when something now is done and you really don't know or are uncertain of how things are going to turn out, you just shift. You decide to shift and say, you know what, okay, let's find new purpose, and then that's how you kind of just give yourself energy to go through. Yeah, thanks, man. When him Noma. Shukran.
Thank you so much, Nkatha. And as Kantai had posted in the group, this is not the last time we may be getting to see Cynthia. She was gracious enough to offer us an opportunity to visit her in her element at the radio station. Cynthia, I hope you'll be able to see a few of us either this coming Saturday or the next Saturday when we'll get to visit you and see you and your brand in action live again. So thank you so much for availing that opportunity to us. I hope especially those junior members who are in the communication space, in the or trying to be, will wish to attend and make time for that. So we look forward to seeing you again soon, God willing. But at this point, I'd like to maybe invite Kantai. Actually, Miss Cynthia, anything you'd like to say just before we close with some of our upcoming Wobon events, which we'd love to see you at and have you continue to engage with the community? Anything from you?
I think for me is I'm very humbled to have been invited here. So it's a great honor again, absolutely humbled. And I look forward to more conversations as such. And of course, there is no brand that does any of these things without pushing themselves. So you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Cynthia W. Mwangi on all platforms. My email is available. If you need to talk to me, just hit me up. I can walk with you the journey of personal branding that I don't mind doing. And again, always available to learn, to grow, and to make this better.
Asante sana, Cynthia. And you didn't plug that you're a certified MC, corporate MC.
Okay, yes. Well, you read that. I am a corporate MC. I do corporate events. I did, the last one was the AMWIC, that's the Association of Media Women in Kenya, meet and greet. That was about in March, right? I work a lot with Abujani. I work a lot with the museums of Kenya. If ever you've been to, what is this place? Tafaria. If you've ever been to Tafaria, then you went through the journey of their museum, then that is my voice in the entirety of the Tafaria Museum. So I am available for any of those things. I do great voiceovers. I MC corporate events. Like nobody calls me for a wedding. Ningumu. Unless ni kama auntie wa kukata keki. Hapo tunaweza jaribu. But other than that, you can find me on corporate events for the most part.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Cynthia.
Absolutely.
You can tell us some of the upcoming WOBON events for some, especially our junior members who'd love to attend and continue to engage with WOBON activities.
Thank you so much, Mandy. What a wonderful discussion this evening we've had with Cynthia. So much notes was taken on my end. And I just wanted to say that I'm looking forward to a future where we transcend ageism, sexism, misogyny. It saddens me a little bit that women have to either tone down or turn up in order to be accepted in certain spaces, and it's really really saddening. But I'm looking forward to a future where we are treated properly and equally. So for the upcoming events under Women on Boards and also junior membership, we have group board mentoring program that is coming on 11th or 25th May all the way to 11th November. We'll share this in the chat, so before we close in, so you'll have a look at the programs you're talking about, so that if you know someone who's interested in them, perhaps you can share with them and then they can sign up. We also have the WBN Awards 2023. So the WBN Awards celebrates men and women from all categories who are doing amazing things within their spaces and capacity. There's a category specifically for junior members. Please go to our website, www.awards.womenonboardskenya.co.ke, and then submit your nomination for the category of Rising Star. If you know a young person who's doing tremendous work, influencing communities, creating spaces for others, and or creating products and services that are changing the society, please have them nominate themselves for that category, and they should be recognized this year on 25th November during the awards celebration. We also have an upcoming Global Certified Executive Coach program that is in partnership between the CDI Africa Coaching Group and the Women on Boards Network. So we will be sharing all these programs on the chat box. So if you know someone who would be interested in them, please have them sign up for the program. We have the Global Women on Boards program, which is also running this year till January of 2024. We also have a partnership with Nyali Capital to help Women on Boards members to do business seamlessly with affordable with emergency loans for their business. And then we have an upcoming breakfast and roundtable on June 10th. I will also be sharing all these updates on upcoming events on the social media and also on the WhatsApp platform and email. So if you'd been interested in any of the mentioned programs, please sign up. Ask questions on how to participate on our various programs under Women on Boards. And for the junior membership, we'll be sharing details of the next event on the WhatsApp platform. If you feel like you need assistance in any space as a junior member, whether it's internship, whether it's a question regarding self-branding or positioning yourself, or just finding yourself in any space and establishing yourself as a young person, please reach out to WBN. We have mentors in different spaces that would hold your hand and assist you in various ways. Once again, thank you, Cynthia, for an amazing discussion this evening. Perhaps we should get back to you on different conversations on how to empower the young woman in workspace, because I feel we need to have a lot of discussion around that, because most of us are transitioning into those spaces or we are exiting in those spaces. So thank you for an amazing discussion this evening. And Mandy, you did amazing. Thank you very much. Back to you, Mandy.
Hi, Asante Sana Kantai. Thank you very much to all our members who've been with us for the last 2 hours, and a very special thank you to Cynthia Mwangi for taking the time to really take us through the journey of self-branding, its significance in our lives, for our careers, and just for even increasing the quality really of the lives we choose for ourselves. So Asante Sana. And have a good evening to all of you. I wish you a blessed weekend and a restful one ahead. Good night.
Thank you, Mandy. Before we close, Miss Catherine is still on call, so perhaps you can ask her to share her thoughts.
I mean, it's been a great discussions. Thank you, Cynthia. I almost feel like you need to speak to the, I don't want to call them seniors, to the main group. Thank you so much. I've learned so much myself. I thank you, Mandy. It was a great session. You can see we are still talking after 8, going to 9, and we are still talking. So thank you, everybody, and all the best. Have a great weekend. Asante Sana Kantai.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much, Miss Catherine. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.